Let me start with the continuity. So clearly, one of the base objectives of the government, and which it has earned a lot of credibility, is the macro stability. So the fiscal balances, etc., even during the pandemic, with a very careful, targeted approach to dealing with the pandemic shock, has earned appreciation. I would say personally, as an economist, that was one of the best in the world as far as the fiscal and macro and monetary management was concerned. I'm not an expert on other matters. So that clearly comes out. The glide path which had been outlined by the 15th Finance Commission has been maintained, etc. So even though we don't think of these things, I think they are important because it provides the flexibility to monetary policy. So if the fiscal policy, we know from the world experience, including India, is that generally when you're dealing with these kind of shocks, a kind of relatively tight fiscal policy and a looser monetary policy is optimal. So in that sense, there is a continuity. From my perspective, looking at the long-term goal, which I define as, again, my economic terms, I'm going to give you an economic perspective. You already have the Honorable Prime Minister's views, so I don't need to repeat them. From my perspective, I have a simple one-line thing. That is, we have to have sustained, fast, inclusive growth. In each word of those has implications which many people have spelled out in different ways. So what from that perspective, there are three things. One is reform, which you have to see not just in budgetary, broader. I'll leave that for the time being. We'll come back if you want. The second two very important points which I personally pay a lot of attention to. That's why I said I'm going to give you my views. And those are, one, the big emphasis on skilling which has come over the last 2 years or so. And it was there in the first time I've ever seen it was in the last budget, and it is repeated in this budget, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. And the third one, and probably the first time in history, we are talking about services as a whole. Of course, Honorable Prime Minister has talked, or everybody talks about IT services, big deal for so many decades. Honorable PM started talking about tourism almost I think since 2014 almost. But this fact of the importance of services, why do I say that? For the first time in NITI Aayog, we've set up a services division, which I happen to oversee, right? So the importance of services, where does it come from? It is because services are important for every level of jobs and job skills. So job skills at every level of services. You can have low skill services, medium skills, high skill. High skill, everybody knows IT, etc. But middle skill, electricians. I mean, I always like to give the example of plumbers and electricians, because there is a huge gap in India. There is a gap across the world. So skill for India, skill for the world. So services, even manufacturing, when we look at direct versus indirect, direct, of course, very important because you're going to provide jobs for females, women in assembly work, which is already happening in electronics. But the indirect part of it, actually, that is also services in a way, because these are services which go into manufacturing. So even though manufacturing is very important, in a current context, perhaps we'll come back to that in the international context, so we'll get back to that. But even manufacturing jobs, in a way, the indirect part is actually services, in a technical economist type of way. So this focus on skilling and services are actually, in my view, what is really going to transform India, because it's going to provide jobs. We keep talking about jobs. We say, people complain that government doesn't focus on jobs. Well, we are focusing on jobs now. And you are right, it's going to transform, but it's not job creation, it is skill creation. Again, one simple slogan I have is jobs and skills are two sides of the same coin. You create the skills, you create the jobs. Sounds very odd, nahi? People don't think like that. Well, 58% of our workers are self-employed. There's no job. It's skills. What are they doing? They are skilled in something they are providing. So if you upgrade those skills, you have jobs, you have higher quality jobs, you have higher income, you have more productivity. So it's related closely to the skills they have. Two examples in the budget. Guides. You don't think of guides, right? You think of tourism, you're thinking of some big thing. No, just guide. Thousands of jobs you can create. How? You have to skill them. You know, when I go out, I find a skilled job, a skilled guide, it makes you happy. He or she should be able to make you happy to be in that situation. That's what a good guide is. Okay? Not कि भाई वो रटा हुआ है, वो वहाँ से फॉर्म लगा हुआ है, वो पढ़ के बता रहा है आपको. That is not guide. Okay? Guide is about narrative, about stories, about excitement. Again, I'm saying a bit about it for you to understand that it's all about skills. Okay, and the Honorable Prime Minister, I can tell you, I don't want to, I mean, when he gave, he knows this inherently. He has personal experience of it. So I speak as an economist, but he knows all these things. Anyway, so that's what I would say are the things.